for literally every other college player. Making it to the NBA is based solely on his ability on the court, but not Bronny James. But that's not to say he'll get drafted if he doesn't put up decent numbers on the floor. Here's the thing though, being the son of arguably the greatest basketball ever makes things a lot more complicated. What impact does that have on Bronny's future? And what does this future even look like as draft time gets closer for him? Stick around to find out these and much more. Kellen Winslow Sr. and Jr., Wayne Gretzky and Trevor Gretzky, Michael Jordan and Marcus Jordan. Legendary athletes whose sons never came near matching their success. And not to be a downer, but it's looking increasingly likely that Bronny James, the son of the NBA's all-time scorer, might join that list. Initially during his middle school, AAU, and even high school days at Sierra Canyon, it looked like Bronny had what it took to at least make it to the league. It's a stretch saying anyone could be as good as LeBron James though. However, as the years went by and he began playing college ball for USC, everything seemed to be going wrong for him. Here's a quick recap of the past year of this dude's life. First, he suffered cardiac arrest caused by a congenital heart defect just months after committing to the Trojans. Before this incident, Bronny had been projected to be a top 10 pick in the 2024 NBA draft. Some viewed the top 10 as being too far out, but he was definitely expected to be a first-round pick based on the performances he had put up in high school. We mean, about a year ago, Bronny James was the most improved prospect in the country. Being out for months takes a toll on even NBA players, so it isn't a surprise that Bronny hasn't been the same since his return to the court after being on the sidelines for 5 months. What is a surprise is how far off he is from the player he used to be. Currently, after about 25 college games played for the USC Trojans, Bronny is averaging a measly 4.8 points, 2.8 rebounds, and 2.1 assists, while shooting 37%. For a bit of context, Bronny's Trojans teammate and fellow freshman Isaiah Collier is averaging 16.3 points, 2.9 rebounds, and 4.8 assists, with just 2 appearances more than Bronny. After such a disappointing freshman season, Bronny recently made the shocking announcement that he'd not only be entering the 2024 NBA draft, but also be maintaining his college eligibility, as he's entered the transfer portal, meaning that if he ends up not getting drafted into the league, we're likely to see him suiting up for another college team next season. With so much at stake for the 19-year-old, there are so many questions to be addressed. First of which is, will he get drafted? The statistical answer to that question is yes, since most projections have placed him as a second-round pick for the 2024 draft, more specifically as the 43rd overall pick. Do you agree that only 42 draft-eligible players deserve a place in the league ahead of Bronny? We'd like to know your thoughts in the comments, but solely based on what scouting companies think, Bronny is 43rd. Having started the year as a legitimate first-round draft, he wouldn't be very pleased to hear that. But the truth is that his time at USC really harmed the resume that Bronny has worked so hard to build. There's the excuse of the scary cardiac arrest incident and the fact that he was under a minute's restriction for his first 4 games after returning to the court. There's also the excuse of the Trojans' generally poor season that saw them go 8-12 to finish 9th in the Pac-12. However, individually, Bronny struggled to prove himself as NBA worthy, particularly during the times when super senior guard Boogie Ellis and Isaiah Collier were out injured. During a number of games with those guys out, Bronny had a chance to show out and step up for his team, but every time he failed. Instead, he looked like he had been reduced to a 3-and-D type player, rather than the free and assertive player he was in Sierra Canyon.
One ended it at 6'4", and Bronny James.
Him scoring double figures only 3 times all season can largely be blamed on the fact that Bronny seems to have lost his shooting and shot creation skills. But these don't completely rule out his chances of getting drafted. After all, we've seen a number of players do poorly in college and end up being phenomenal in the league. One example of this is Russell Westbrook, who only averaged 3.4 points per game in his first year at UCLA, only to end up as the 4th overall pick after having just 1 more season of collegiate ball. If Bronny doesn't spend that extra year in college, but instead gets drafted by a team that can help him improve in the league, it'll be the Miami Heat, who have a reputation for taking undrafted free agents and NBA castoffs and shaping them into reliable rotational players.
I just want to compete. I just want to hoop. All the training is cool.
They already have a second-round pick, and everyone knows how much Eric Spoelstra helps to maximize talent for players who put in the hard work.
Just do your job, be reliable.
So South Florida sounds like a very reasonable destination for Bronny James. And if that doesn't work out, then San Antonio is also a likely and reasonable destination, and not for the reason most people think. You see, the Spurs have had a terrible season, and the only bright side is Victor Wembanyama winning the Rookie of the Year award with his insane 21.2 points, 10.5 rebounds, 3.7 assists, and an NBA best 3.5 blocks. Trey Jones was expected to work well with Wemby, but that hasn't worked out, and many feel the Spurs should get a veteran point guard like Dennis Schroeder from the Nets. However, it would work out really well if Greg Popovich opted to draft Bronny, having him be rotational with Jones for a season or two, so he can develop out of the spotlight before finally becoming a starter. If he doesn't end up getting drafted by either of these two teams though, there's always the option of him playing wherever LeBron James is. It's literally that simple. It's no secret that LeBron James has repeatedly expressed his desire to spend time playing in the NBA with his first son. Dude legit said this 2 years ago: "My last year will be played with my son. Wherever Bronny's at, that's where I'll be. I would do whatever it takes to play with my son for 1 year." It's not about the money at that point. Given the King is hitting 40 soon, that final season might just be around the corner, meaning any team that drafts Bronny could very well be getting LeBron as part of the package. One thing that makes that a bit trickier is that the Lakers are currently not in a position where they need a player like Bronny, nor are they a strong enough team to allow him to make mistakes on the job. This means that the older James could very well opt out of his contract with the Lakers and move to any team willing to sign Bronny. We know. That sounds like teams could take Bronny, not because they feel he's good enough, but just because they want his dad. And we hate to break it to you, but that's actually what might or could happen. After all, LeBron is still the best in the league right now.
James off the steal.
Literally any team would want him on the roster, no matter the cost. Crazy thing is, not only the teams that could get the older James want this, even the media and fans want it. You don't even have to be a LeBron fan to imagine how poetic and heartwarming it'd be to have the greatest player of all time on the court with his son. That's the stuff movies are made of. The question here is, how does this affect Bronny? He's had to live with the pressure of being the son of an all-time great, bearing literally the same name, and struggling to measure up in on-court abilities. Now, having the doubt that teams wouldn't pick him for his abilities, but just because they want his dad, that's gotta mess with his head a bit. Get this though, we're not trying to question the role of LeBron as a good father or anything like that. No. However, the bitter truth is that a big part of the pressure Bronny has had, and will still have to deal with, has a lot to do with LeBron's actions. First, putting it out there that he would be a +1 when his son gets drafted isn't the wisest move. What we see most times is sport icons letting their kids have the space to shine on their own and make a name for themselves. Not that it makes much of a difference, because most times these legendary athletes' kids don't end up in the sport because of their love of the game or talent. It's more of something bestowed upon them. However, LeBron could have handled his desire to play with Bronny a whole lot better. More recently, we've seen him publicly defend Bronny, like when he tweeted, "Can y'all please just let the kid be a kid and enjoy college basketball? The work and results will ultimately do the talking, no matter what he decides to do." If y'all don't know, he doesn't care what a mock draft is. He just works. Earned, not given. Nice gesture to step up for his son, but the truth remains. He played a part in all the media attention being on his kid. If draft day does come, and Bronny gets drafted by a team that leads to LeBron joining the same team, that'll bring about an even broader issue of nepotism in the NBA. Already, fans, players, and even coaches have all criticized various forms of nepotism in the league, be it match-fixing accusations or complaints about undeserved accolades. Well, all those allegations will take a lot more to prove. The scenario of a team drafting a college kid because they want to get his dad as part of the package is as glaring as it comes. Let's be real. If Bronny's last name was, say, Johnson, and his parents were just regular working class people, do you think he'd be drafted into the NBA? Of course not. At least not if he just averaged less than 5 points per game in college. Sure, there have been multiple cases of family ties giving us some very impressive NBA players, like Del Curry and Steph, Jaren Jackson Sr. and Jr., Michael and Klay Thompson, Arvydas and Domantas Sabonis. The list goes on and on. But Bronny could end up joining the disappointing list that has the likes of Shaquille O'Neal's son, Sharif, who couldn't even make the draft, but still ended up getting a 6-figure deal with the developmental G League. Or J.R. Smith's younger brother Chris, who cost the Knicks about $2 million to sign and only ended up playing 2 games. The whole 2 LeBron James, 1 team would definitely not be a good way for Bronny to start his career. Even if it works out in the long run, the nepotism couldn't be more obvious, and it would take a lot of work on the younger James's behalf to clear his name and prove he's legitimate. At the end of the day, the more likely scenario is Bronny James will make it to the NBA. It'd make more sense for him to go undrafted and then get selected in the 2nd round, because by then, teams would only be trying to get his dad through him. Going undrafted gives him the option of picking where he wants to play, which also means James is able to go to a team they think will be a fit for both of them. We'll have to wait and see how that turns out in the next few months. For now, we only have to hope that this is the last time we see a young athlete get overshadowed by the success of his parents. Because it's not as fun to watch as seeing an athlete build his own legacy without any family meddling. What's your take on this whole topic? Do you think Bronny James is good enough to be in the NBA? If yes, how do you think he'll manage the spotlight and extra scrutiny? And if not, well, don't be shy to let us know how you feel about him declaring for the draft. Let us know all your thoughts in the comments section, and enjoy our other videos. Oh, and while I have your attention, here's another video I thought you might enjoy.
Jason Terry, good defense. Wade from behind takes it away. Chalmers, Cole, James! Whoa!
Now it looked like he jumped out of the mezzanine to dunk this ball. That's sending it down with some power.
Steal. He's among the leaders in steals. 5-point lead for Houston. James to the rim, and that was a statue of
Back in LeBron. That's what Worthy used to do.
Slowest in the NBA, so therefore someone needs to communicate, get back early.
Here's the lead pass into the first slam by James. This, and that's his first field goal, and that is.
That's LeBron James with authority, and they're standing here in Miami.
Now watch, this is flying the skies and whamming.
The open shot. And taking to the rim. Yes, and the foul. Pokes it away. James up and under, throws it off the backboard. Oh, what a perfect pass to himself.
And how about this play by LeBron James? Great recognition, great awareness, and tremendous.
Shoot 38% from downtown. Here comes LBJ! Look out!
Oh, the crowd on their feet. That's what they came to see. If nothing else happens, they're happy now.
16 seconds left. LeBron drives in. Oh my! A ferocious slam on Millsap. Did you see LeBron? He jumped right out of the building. Rockers down to 5. Nice fake by James. Oh, he stuffs! LeBron James puts it down in the face of James Johnson.
Curry on Irving. Irving the drive. Back to James! Cavaliers lead and a foul! James dribble penetration to blow by. LeBron James taking 2 guys and finishing at the rim. My goodness, mama.
Steal by J.R. Smith. Cavaliers running. Here comes LeBron James. The high hand up! Through it!
Right. Up high.
Parsons, there's no foul to give. Here comes a double screen. It opens up LeBron, and he's going to the basket. And hammering it home. There is no foul.
Just to pick and roll, Zaza shows out a little bit.
Great train.
I just don't see how you just got to cut the guy off and make him kick it. I know you're afraid of the 3 at that point if you're Matthews, but.
Working the two-man game with Caruso. Good pass, and James hammers one home.
I would say he's okay, right? Gets the little alley pass from Caruso and the finish.
In fame, whereas as James gets the beautiful pass.
Russ throws his dribble. Corner shoot. Takes that dribble. Inside! Otto Porter Jr. was turned into a screensaver. Well, he's 67. I think we should count it. Washington didn't want to count that one as LeBron James taking the Wizards specifically quarter to the rack.
Throw him in the hoop.
Ow! We'll be back. Cavs by 30. Upset. James drives, scoop layup, pass to himself, and he throws it down. He went up in the air and had nowhere to go. Missed it. Batted out to Rondo.
A little bit of resistance there at the rim by the Lakers.
No resistance defensively for the Pelicans against that.
A 10-1 run by the Lakers. Came in as a terrific defender. His offensive game has improved leaps and bounds as James throws it down. A 7-0 Oladipo run. Stevenson harassing James. James! Oh! A thunderous dunk. He did not cross half court. Spectacular play, but it should not have.
Easily gets in the paint. Off 1 foot. Can't get it to Oak. And JaVale McGee. Good pursuit. Beautiful pass. James with authority.
Hanging on Dante Cunningham.
LeBron James! Oh, good gosh, what a finish!
It was something unbelievable. And in slow motion, you almost can't tell the force of which he rose up. He was over Cunningham, over Harris, threw that down.
Has 5 assists for the Cavaliers. Siakam gets switched on him. No match. The crank.
To go. Here comes Darren Williams pushing it up the floor, finds James. James goes by and throws it down.
Energy, getting the basketball, pursuing it. 2 best players in the world. LeBron James, grown man move with the contact.
Well, great to see him back on the floor. James drives past Livingston and throws it down. LeBron James so aggressive offensively to start. He's got 14.
I mean, if you're David West, you got to get turned. You should be in help. You're not seeing the ball.
You're guarding Larry Nance Jr. like he's Kevin Love.
So runs a break. Caldwell Pope goes to the wing. Here's James. Oh! Punch it home, LeBron.
James finds McGee. McGee looking to post up, stolen by James. James drives hard and throws it down.
A steal, an attack, and a massive throwdown.
I love the attack one-on-one. This is KD versus LeBron James. He tells JaVale McGee, mind your business.
Nets have lost James to the rim, puts it down on the delivery from Hill.
Hill, hey, look for me. Slow, and then hits the gas, throws it down. What a dime by Hill, and LeBron looking like he's 20.
It's hard to get that focus back.
LeBron turned the corner.
Wearing him out! Putting yet another crack at the Liberty Bell! LeBron James with a stare!
Durant knew he had missed it. Now the Lakers have numbers. Danny Green with LeBron. What a finish! LeBron!
That's a great decision by LeBron. He gave it up early. Transition as Avery gives it to LeBron, who gives it right away to Danny Green, who, wow, just throw it up. Let LeBron do the rest, and do the rest. He does, just flushes it in the crowd. Oh, boy, they love it.
And it's claimed by Crowder. Gets it ahead for James. Like a locomotive, LeBron James! A major rack attack!
LeBron James high through. That's a look from Yespo presented by Nissan. And oh, this man is on a mission.
The lead is down to 11. Irving's pass picked off. James ahead for Ingram. Back to James. Oh, what a beautiful play.
What a great play. Recognition. That's right, by the young fella. Throwing the ball up, the beautiful oop, and when the Lakers are at their best with the lack of...
James dancing with it. Got it in his left. Pirtle moving his feet well. But not well enough. How about That's that? LeBron James, folks. Fence relax. And then blow right by him. And then no rotating. LeBron faked it. Saw a lay right down Euclid. Got 4 helpers. LeBron's going to get the steal. Here he goes. LBJ.
Davis, and then in the breakaway, LeBron, flush me one.
No. Picked up comes James. Ball. Williams and the sledgehammer.
Right loose against the bonus. LeBron James, they want to push, obviously.
That's why.
As he crunched it again.
LeBron gets to turn over and takes off down the floor. They part ways and he throws that hammer down. LeBron James being aggressive in this first quarter.
Athletic ability for a big man. Bad pass by Curry, stolen by James. Iguodala's back. And James throws it right down in his face.
Caldwell Pope races it down. James on the drive and hammers it home. In a minute 13.
Won a state championship in Louisiana. They lost in the semis, but Peyton liked it so much he kept growing. LeBron James in a steal. No one will come near it. 82-60. Burn Akron rubber. And LeBron James on the solo mission.